There is a ton of chaga on this tree. How am I gonna get this tree down? Hey, this is Simple Living with Biata. I'm a wife and a mom, and my goal is to live more simply, naturally, and self-sufficiently. A year ago, we sold our home, moved into a trailer, and then 5 months later, we found our dream land to call home. We're taking our 18 acres and we're building our dream home and homestead from start to finish. This week, I'm finishing clearing up our 1 acre for our homestead, and nature blessed me with the most beautiful medicinal gift called chaga. Come join me chopping trees and foraging chaga. The last few months, I've been working my butt off making this beautiful 18 acres our home, and the last few weeks I've been working especially on the 1 acre homestead. We're clearing 1 acre so that we can build a beautiful permaculture food forest that will provide us with an abundance of fruit and vegetables. So I know we're taking a lot of trees down, but we're going to be replacing them with peach trees, pear trees, apple trees, and so many fruit bushes like raspberries, blackberries, blueberries, currants, elderberries, goji berries, and so much more. So the first thing I do when I start clearing a section of trees is I take down the small stuff first. This way I can stay organized, and when I go to cut the larger trees, it's easier to see where they're going to drop. The other thing I'm looking out for when I'm cutting these small trees is anything that I can use as a post for our gardens. We're fencing in just under 1 acre to keep our food forest safe from predators like deer and bears, and we're hoping to use Douglas firs, cedars, and maples, which have more rot-resistant properties. So I've finished cutting all of the small stuff, put them into really neat piles, and now I'm moving on to our medium and large trees. Let's go. Okay, so this is pretty exciting. I just cut a yellow birch and I found some chaga on it. So that's super exciting because chaga is an incredible medicinal mushroom. It's full of nutrients. It has antiviral properties. It has anti-tumoral potential. It is an anti-inflammatory. It's so helpful for lowering blood sugar and blood pressure and so much more. So as I'm cutting away, I noticed a tree along the forest edge here. It's a birch tree, and I'm super stoked because there is a ton of chaga on this tree. We're not clearing a bunch of trees in this like forested area here, but I'm selecting a few to get out of the way, especially ones that look like within the next 5 years I'm gonna have to cut them down anyways. And this chaga is one of them. So some of the branches at the top have fallen off. Some of them are still really healthy, so I know it's still a live and well tree, which is important for chaga harvesting. But oh my gosh, there is so much chaga on here. I think there's 3 sections of healthy looking chaga. So chaga can actually be found on multiple different varieties of trees, but it's only the chaga on birch trees that have any medicinal value. Chaga starts growing on the inside of a birch tree when spores enter through injuries to the bark. This process can actually take 20 years to develop. So I just got a few extra chunks from this part of the tree. Well, between the 2 trees, we have 3 pretty big chunks of chaga. I am super stoked. Time to make some tea. And after getting all that chaga, before going home, I decided to go for a spring walk, and I found more chaga, but I let it be because it's still super small and can grow really big in the next few years. To start out processing my chaga by trying to clean everything off with a brush, just getting any dirt and debris out of the way. It's really important that you actually cut it right after you harvest it because it can dry out really quickly and it can be really hard to cut. I left this one for a little bit too long and it was definitely tricky to cut. So chaga is orange on the inside and has this blackish color on the outside, and that's what you're going to see when looking out in nature. It can actually take 15 to 20 years before you can visibly see the chaga on the outside of the tree with this black coal-like lump. Once chaga is finally visible on the outside of the tree, it can take about 5 years for it to reach 10 inches in diameter. And it's important not to harvest it until it at least reaches the size of a grapefruit. So I'm basically breaking down my larger chunks of chaga and then chopping them into smaller chunks until they reach a really nice size for tea. And once you have all the chunks chopped down into really nice sizes, you can then put it on a tray in a dry and cool place and let it dry for about 30 days before putting it in a jar. And now it's time to make some tea. You need to steep your chaga tea for at least 10 to 15 minutes. And if you have more time, you can steep it for hours. If you're gonna go with a 10 to 15 minute tea, you're gonna wanna choose smaller chunks, and you can even grind it down in a hand grinder like this one here. Thank you so much for watching this week's journey of chopping trees and harvesting chaga. And thank you so much for subscribing, liking, commenting, and following our journey of taking our 18 acres and making it a home.